I want to welcome you all to the first in our fall lecture series sponsored by Whitney Young School and the Institute for Liberal Studies. And we have a series of lectures on a variety of topics. Today's lecture will be given by Whitney Young Honors faculty member Dr. Mawby on the dividing lines Mathematics and Wisdom. Let me mention briefly the titles of the other programs. We hope you can attend those too. In 2 weeks, in Hathaway 123, Dr. Victor Gomia will talk about Africa and the war on terrorism, a timely topic. November 3rd, here in Carver 115, Dr. Michael Bumford will talk about the energy crisis. His title is Life After Cheap Carbon, the Transition to a Resilient Renewable Energy Economy. And that really raises the questions for the final lecture in this series, which will be given 2 weeks later here in Carver 115 by Dr. George Shields, Professor of Philosophy. He will talk about the enigma of Heidegger, Gelassenheit, moral character, and the environment. And he'll try to explain what that all means. So our first talk today is on the relationship of mathematics and wisdom, certainly a topic that has been engaging thinkers for 2,500 years, and to shed some light on it, my colleague Dr. Mawby. I would mention that he's done a lot of thinking over the years on this topic with our courses and beyond, and he will think more about it when he has a sabbatical next semester.
Yes. Just seeing the composition of the audience, I feel I have to say a word of preface. I write these talks for various sinister reasons, the main one of which is to advance my own understanding. I give the talks for other different reasons. The main one is to stimulate conversations with my faculty colleagues. That we compel our freshman students to attend them, right, leads to a certain kind of awkwardness because, frankly, it wasn't prepared for the freshman students that are asked to attend. So, for the freshman students, you might have the impression that I'm talking to myself rather than to you. That's not entirely wrong, but don't worry. I think a lot of it, I think the main lines of this are going to be intelligible. Probably, I'm almost certainly, a lot of the details and some of the illusions will move toward things you're not familiar with. But it's not, I'm not making a technical argument. I'm drawing a big picture here, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay?
Let me make one final comment to those freshmen. An attendance sheet is being passed around.
All right. So for some years, as Dr. McCartney mentioned, I've been interested in mathematics as a liberal art. The liberal arts are often taken to be the humanities as distinct from the sciences, and since math is a science, some think it not a liberal art. But of these 7 traditional liberal arts, only 3, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, are language arts, while the other 4 are mathematical. The liberal arts aim to develop powers of mind that contribute to a life well lived. One such power is, in ascending degrees, common sense, good judgment, or wisdom. My question today concerns the mathematics and wisdom. Perhaps unwisely, I put it quantitatively. How much mathematics is needed for wisdom? The question is important because it relates to our proper ethical and educational aim. Wisdom names one or more excellences at which we ought to aim, and our aim will be better if we know what wisdom requires. Put it this way, suppose you wanted to become wise. Should you study math? And if so, how much? That is my question. I lack an answer. Instead, I have 4 answers, each to my mind plausible, none completely satisfactory. Note that I have defined neither math nor wisdom. Multiple senses of these terms may contribute to my multiple answers. In any case, although I am near the end of my insight, I remain in the middle of my problem. The text from which I start and draw my title, Dividing Lines, is Plato's Dialogue of the Republic. There in Book 6, Socrates presents the image of the divided line. The divided line is a mathematical figure that locates math in the world and the soul, and so in the education of the philosopher king. That is, someone fitted for self-rule rather than ruled by others. The divided line is constructed as follows. This is it right here. Take a finite line, divide it unequally into two sections. Let one section represent the visible realm, the other represent the intelligible realm. The intelligibles are the things that you can't see with your eyes, you have to think with your mind. Then divide these two sections again, each in the same ratio in which the whole line was divided. The result is a fourfold division, each section representing different sorts of beings and their correlative powers of soul. The extreme section of the visible, down here, represents mirror images, reflections, and shadows, which are apprehended by the soul's power of image recognition. The middle section on the visible side represents physical things, which are the soul's correlative power is trust. The middle section on the intelligible side represents mathematical objects, the mathematicals, which are apprehended by the soul's power of thinking through. The extreme section of the intelligible represents the forms, which are apprehended by dialectical insight. The relationship between adjacent parts of the line is that of image to original. The reflections and shadows are images of their originals, the physical things, which in turn are images of their originals, the mathematicals, which again are images of their originals, the forms. At each level, the originals have more being, more unity, and more intelligibility than their images. For those of you who have not read the Republic, I give an example drawn from math. One form, say the form of circle or circularity, generates many mathematical circles. Think of all the circles of different radii. All those circles would be here. Circle, or circularity, would be a form. All those mathematical circles would be there. Then think of all these circular dinner plates with the same radius. Those would be physical things. And each physical thing has many images. Think of how one plate, dinner plate, can cast many shadows. All right, according to Socrates in the Republic, wisdom requires intellectual apprehension of the good. What is the good? Well, the good in the intelligible world is like the sun in the visible world. The source of beings and the soul and their co-presence as phenomena. The soul, illumined by the good, will be wise because it will see reality and act for the best. To see the good, the soul must first be turned around toward the intelligible world and then get accustomed to intelligible beings. For luminous intelligibles at first blind us. Mathematical study, says Socrates, strengthens the eye of the soul by which truth is seen. So on this picture, how much math is required for wisdom? Well, the adult philosopher king studies math for 10 years. Today's equivalent would be at least a PhD in math. The topics are numbers and their ratios in geometric figures and their motions. The study of numeric ratios is called music. That of geometrical motions is called astronomy, but these concern neither audible tones nor the visible heavens. They are strictly mathematical. These four, arithmetic and music, geometry and astronomy, become the quadrivium of the liberal arts, the other four of the 7 liberal arts. But 10 years of math is not enough for wisdom. Philosopher kings complete their theoretical education with 5 years of dialectical study of the forms. Math strengthens the eye of the soul, says Socrates, but how precisely? Consider some possibilities. Platonic education is waking up to reality, whereas a sleeper mistakes a dream image for a freestanding being. If we are awake, we see an image as an image. Rightly grasped, the image points beyond itself to its original and moves the soul to a higher level of being. In the visible realm, this is often easy. A photographic image leads us to think of the one who is pictured. But waking up to grasp the visible as an image of the intelligible is not so easy.